So originally I was going to be making a video regarding Overwatch's PvE mode, kind of speculating on why the developers wanted to go the route that they did with canceling PvE as it was promised back in 2019, talking about all the factors and why it actually might be beneficial for the developers, kind of, speculating about the inner workings of Blizzard and just game development in general. It was gonna be great. It was gonna be like, a 10-minute video with a bunch of little jokes and yada 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 all intertwined there while talking about Overwatch, talking about some points that people have been making. But unfortunately, it seems that Blizzard decided to, beat me to the punch. So instead, I'm gonna make this kind of more informal video talking about the many points that were made in that video, trying to see how accurate I really was, how much I understood from the initial situation, and comparing it to Blizzard's deep dive on the situation with PvE. Which all in all made my original video obsolete because instead of speculation, it's all coming from a primary source. So I'm just not going to spend time making that full-fledged video if it means that, it's just going to be obsolete immediately. So what I'm going to be doing instead of just regurgitating the blog post is talk about the main points in my initial video, talk about that speculation, and then compare it to the actual blog post, what I'm thinking about, what the developer's thinking about, and why it makes sense or why it didn't make sense, or why I'm wrong, why I'm right, why would it be beneficial, why would it be detrimental, just simple video talking points. So the first major point that I had was that Blizzard's development style just changed drastically during the development of Overwatch 2, caused by the multiple issues during 2019 and 2022. I was going to touch on the pandemic, the controversy, and the change in leadership and how it shifted Overwatch's development from a traditional game to a more modern live service. And based on the blog post, I was completely right. Overwatch's original goal was to be released as Overwatch, and then PvE, and then have an MMO to finish the dream of that failed Titan project. And they didn't make Overwatch with that live service model in mind. Instead, Overwatch's popularity really just forced things to change, and they had to adapt to it, so they had to support Overwatch as a live service. Unfortunately, that did cost a lot of things down the line. It would make Overwatch's support seem just a lot less compared to many other games, and every project afterwards would just suffer as well. The spread of the resources was just too much, and after Overwatch, nothing could really get done. That dream of having Overwatch, then PvE, then Project Titan again, was just an impossibility. I mean, think about it. It took 3 years just for Overwatch 2 to be announced, when in the blog post, it said that they were trying to work on it almost immediately after Overwatch launched. Yeah, it was just not gonna happen. My next talking point was that PvE was detrimental to the health of Overwatch 2 as it was a resource hog, and things would just get a lot worse and worse as time went on and, the game got closer to release. The bite-sized nature of PvE mode now is a lot more manageable with the team that they have. And based on the blog post, this was also true. In order to fit PvE in the way that fit their modern, consistent live service model that has shown a lot of success, they had to cull features that would, take extended development time. Which, again, would only be resource intensive with the team that they have right now. While yes, Blizzard is a big company, you have to keep in mind that these are still humans. You can't scale human productivity like you would a machine. Next, my third point was that if Overwatch 2 stuck to the plan, PvE would just suffer due to PvP's prioritization and popularity. Or, the other way around, where PvP would suffer due to the focus of launching PvE. And based on the blog post, this was also true. Again, resource management dictated the continuation of the PvE project, and that would just make PvP suffer. And they did not want to do that again, for themselves or for the fans. They wanted to have something out, and unfortunately, with the way that things were going, it seemed that PvE was just going to be stuck in development hell for just much longer. Things really needed to be restructured in order to fit the new way that they develop things. And finally, my last point was that the catalyst for the cancellation had to involve a form of corporate meddling, or at the very least some neck breathing. And you also can't forget low confidence and morale. I mean, this game was taking forever to develop. Things would start getting a little bit less exciting, less positive. Especially when you have fans and people just who are straight up haters doing nothing but bitching on the internet, right? Like, no matter what you do, you're always just gonna hear a bunch of this stuff. And funnily enough, alright, I think this is one of the funnier parts of my original video, was that I was gonna be talking about this point, and I would be slowly, you know, as I was talking about bitching and bitching and bitching, and then the frustration that comes from fans who don't appreciate shit, right? I would actually show a logo of Team Fortress 2 slowly fading in. Slowly fading in. Maybe show some Jungle Inferno and stuff, you know? And talk about how, like, corporate meddling, how your game isn't making billions of dollars and yada yada yada. I thought that was gonna be hilarious, you know, make that little parallel with Team Fortress 2, because that's how I kind of feel the developers felt after Jungle Inferno, and why they probably moved away from Team Fortress 2. But anyways, okay, so according to the blog post, this was not mentioned whatsoever. Which, yeah, no duh, you know, I don't think Blizzard, as much as they might have distaste or disdain for their parent company, Activision Blizzard, they're still not gonna shit-talk them on a blog post, you know, that'll just make things look bad, or look even worse. Unfortunately, they have their arms tied when it comes to that, right? But I personally still believe it, because Blizzard is just part of Activision Blizzard and executives get final word, and the pressure was probably really high to not pull any more resources from PvP, as the development of PvE was effectively making $0 billions each quarter. That just looks bad. That, in my opinion, is still entirely possible, and I really wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in the future this was proven as true. And all in all, I mean, 3 out of 4, that's a pretty good thing. I really wish I could have finished my original video, but well, you know, too bad to sad, right? And all in all, that's really all that has to be talked about with that blog post. And my whole objective with the video wasn't so much to defend Blizzard, but at the very least defend the developers, right? Because, I mean, they're still people too. There's still people working on that game that have to make decisions, especially the lead, who has to take all the responsibility and stuff, right? I mean, fans are gonna be fans, super fans are gonna be super fans, and unfortunately, some of them get really insufferable, okay? They're still humans, it just fucking happens, right? At the very least, I wanted there to not be forgiveness so much as empathy. Like, just put yourself in their shoes for a moment and kind of realize that, honestly, this was probably the best approach that they could have done with it. Players are still gonna get PvE, even though it's not gonna be in the same caliber as an original game. Ideas aren't getting scrapped. PvP is still being supported regularly and with consistent updates, unlike original Overwatch, but of course that could be attributed to Overwatch 2's development. But things are better for Overwatch. I mean, Overwatch is still a mainstream free-to-play game. People play it all the time on quick play. Unfortunately, us, the loud minority, doesn't really dictate the popularity of a game, and people are buying skins. No matter how fucking loud people complain about the skin prices, people are still buying skins. And thus, Overwatch 2 is nothing but a success. It is a success. It might not be the most perfectly handled success of all time, of course not. Compared to many other games out there, Overwatch 2 and Overwatch as a franchise has been handled pretty poorly, but of course that's because of consequences based on previous decisions and mistakes. And all I gotta say is, oh well. I'm personally not gonna be expecting the worst out of Overwatch, alright? I know I like to joke and meme that Overwatch sucks, that Overwatch is terrible because it's an unfun game or whatever, but I never actively wish games to, you know, just fucking crash and die. People do on the internet because, of course, people don't get punched in the face on the internet. They can say whatever the fuck they want. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Overwatch 2 is still successful, and Overwatch 2 does put food on people's plates. So personally, I think that Overwatch is in a much better state right now, as it is, than many years ago. And in a weird cosmic sort of way, players kind of got closure. Now they're no longer expecting PvE, now PvP is gonna be what it is. And if Overwatch 2 is still successfue, that just means that Overwatch never needed the people who were waiting for PvE in the first place. But anyways, that's all I really have to say about this issue. Overwatch 2 PvP is successful. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's up to you. Doesn't matter really to me. I'm still gonna play the game every once in a while because it's fun to just hop in and hop out. I like shooting things with a revolver. I like hitting things with a giant hammer. The end. Team Fortress 2 is still a better game. Thank you so much for watching.